Hello random person, Sab Nino here. Welcome to the 11th episode of Sab Talk. Today's episode is going to be very different because I don't have a lot of news this week. So what I did to fill out the runtime is to have you guys pitch ideas, whether it be from another random day or any other video, and I just ramble and pitch how I do it. So I'll take care of those once I get to the news, which won't be that long. With another random day, episode 5 indoors, we are in the cleanup process and storyboarding is almost done. The Cringe Binge Chronicles is still being animated, we're still animating the intro. And lastly, Sots is taking another hiatus, mostly due to lack of resources and my lack of talent. Okay, that's all the news I had this week. Now you can understand why I'm doing this segment in the first place. So let's get into it. The first one I'm gonna do is actually from Discord. This one's from Gaston A. Guzman. I'd like to see an episode where Cringe Binge clones herself. This one I find to be very interesting because Cringe Binge isn't even out yet. We're still animating the pilot. So I'm gonna have to do some explaining. For those who haven't seen my previous Sab Talks, the Cringe Binge Chronicles is basically about Cringy, who's like, she's rebellious, she's out there, you never know what to expect with her. There's Laurel, who serves as the voice of reason, who is also Cringy's roommate. There's Dabby, who is a stoner alien. But anyway, this is pretty much what I do if I were to write a Cringe Binge cloning episode. I'd probably start it with either Cringy or Laurel trying to take on multiple things at once, you know, the typical cliche of wanting to do multiple things and not being able to do them because they're one person. And then Dabby would introduce some sort of alien tech that he used back on his own planet that lets people clone. He uses it to clone Cringy. It starts off great, just a bunch of Cringy clones, just doing a bunch of tasks. What would happen to kind of like spice it up is that maybe they just end up getting roped into some sort of drama, like maybe they said something to like one of Cringy's friends, or like maybe one of them just stole a bunch of money. And that's where I don't know, Laurel just steps in being like, okay, we need to get rid of these clones. They all get in her car, they try chasing them down, and I don't know. It ends with a gag. That's basically how I do that story, or something along those lines. If I'm being completely honest, unless the co-creator thinks it's a good idea, I probably won't go with this story, mostly because I think it's more of an another random day plot, considering Sab has the gadgets and stuff. It still sounds like an interesting premise. Absorbency says, Sab takes down a terrorist. Okay, here's what I do for this one. I wouldn't make it an episode. I'd make it a game ripping off SpongeBob kills terrorists. Bam. Solved. Just replace the SpongeBob sprite with Sab, and there you go. I did that mostly because I can't think of an episode where Sab kills a terrorist, nor do I want to, so Absorbency, I hope you get your money's worth. Giraffe King says, do a SpongeBob intro, but Patrick. There's two ways I execute this. One, do the one they did in Truth or Square, same audio and everything. However, another thing I do is, I believe this happened in Mexico, but there was a Spanish bumper of SpongeBob, which I'm assuming is advertising Big Pink Loser, where they showcased the SpongeBob intro, but Patrick was just badly photoshopped in. My other idea was doing something along those lines, so yeah, that's what I do for that. Aaron Lovin says, ARD murder mystery. This might be a little hard to believe, but at some point in time, we did write something like that. It took place in a mansion, because at that point in production, Ender was gonna live in a mansion instead of living with Jasmine. A character gets killed, or just disappears, I forgot which one it was. There weren't any suspects or anything like that, nobody accused anyone of anything. Eventually it led to an area with a bunch of doors in Ender's mansion, and they open one that leads to like this weird acid trip place. And then eventually that leads to the whole twist that was, oh, this was just some elaborate scheme to entertain Ender for her birthday. Something along those lines, and everyone was fine. yeah, if I ended up going with that story, it definitely needs another draft. Me and the crew aren't against the idea of a murder mystery. As a matter of fact, one of our writers pitched an idea about the playable system 5 being destroyed, and I think one of the characters is trying to figure out culprits and make ridiculous stories on how a character would break it. I wouldn't be against an ARD murder mystery. It sounds like a lot of fun. We're just very on and off on like what story we want to go with. SpongeBob Master, creator of the Sab Nino wiki, says there should be an episode of ARD of the gang go on a road trip. I was trying to think of a premise with that too, because honestly, I love road trips. Like, I love road trip episodes in general. So here's how I do an ARD road trip. I'd make a destination a concert. I'd probably have Sab in the back seat. Michael would be the driver, since he's pretty much the only real character who can drive. And I would have Brandon and Ender to spice up the dynamic a little bit. It would start off pretty good. Maybe they're listening to the band on the way, and maybe Michael gets like a flat tire, so they have to like push it to a gas station or something. It probably wouldn't have that much of a plot. I would just put a bunch of forks in the road. Maybe a literal one. That would prevent them from going to the concert, and maybe there's a ticking clock of like when the concert's gonna start. Maybe there's arguments that go on between the gang. Maybe Ender's like mad at Michael, or maybe Sab just really needs to pee, and that's like preventing them from getting there faster. There's many different ways this could go out, but I think those are the characters I'd use for the story. Thank you so much for your submissions on what you do for an episode or a video. It's really fun. I wouldn't be against doing this again. If you have any other ideas, leave your thoughts in the comments. I don't know when I'm gonna do this again, because I'm assuming the next Sab Talk will be back to normal. And with all that said, it's all Sab from here.